All right, we're here with Tyler from Grand Rapids Bicycle Company, GRBC. We've got Casey with us. We thought we'd just kind of jump in and talk a little bit about the trainers, specifically the Wahoo. Winter's coming up on us, and we all have to get on these trainers now since we live in Michigan. So let's talk a little bit about them, guys. What's the entry one and the pricing and some of that? Snap.
Yeah, so out of the three that we're talking about today, the price points go 500, 900, 1200. There are other options that you can get into a trainer at much lower cost, but they're, as we call them, dumb trainers. Mm-hmm. They don't have the smart capabilities. So starting with the Snap is going to be a wheel-on trainer, which means you leave your rear wheel on.
Yeah, I'll be sharing that here with you here.
Picture of that one. So that's $500. The smart aspect of trainers means that you can adjust the resistance. So if you're doing an application like Zwift, which we can talk about later, mm-hmm. When you're going up a hill, it's going to make it harder. So you do have to shift gears. Makes it easier if you're trying to do a training plan with intervals and different things. So at $500, it's a good way to get into a smart trainer. It's definitely like people wonder about if they're going to overpower, like, oh, am I going to be too, overpower it and it's not going to have a lot of resistance? The answer to that is probably not. Somebody might be able to overpower a Snap, but once you get up to the kicker core and the kicker, I can assure you that you're not going to overpower it, and it's a tough workout. So
I can speak from experience. Like, I had the Kinetic Fluid probably 3 years ago now, mm-hmm. Which was not a smart trainer. Great trainer at the time. I think it was maybe 4 years ago. And there wasn't, some of the smart stuff wasn't really coming out yet. And I mean, at the time, the fluid felt cool because the faster you went, you got 20 miles an hour, 21, it felt like 21. Can't do the hill, you can't duplicate hills at low cadence and things like that. So but then when I heard the big craze of the smart trainers and smart control or smart trainers, the ability to get on Zwift, and then Zwift came in along that way. I mean, it's crazy how real all that stuff feels. I mean,
and with a heavier flywheel comes that more realistic feeling of climbing a hill. And that's where the higher price point you go, the heavier flywheel you're going to get.
And that's kind of the whole idea as you go up, right? Is just getting that more realistic road feel, like that more real world application, I guess. Like
for resistance 4 months of not fun outdoor riding. Well, it can be fun, but there's other times where jumping in the basement is a lot more convenient. So the next level up is going to be the kicker core, which we have here. This is definitely our best seller at $900. It gets you a direct drive. So what a direct drive is, you take the rear wheel off your bike, you put a cassette body right here, and it's exactly how it sounds. It's a direct drive with your chain to the machine, which gets you an even more realistic feeling of being on the road. There's not any lag when you start doing an interval or going hard, like you don't have your tires slipping on the rear. You don't have to worry about a trainer tire being on your bike. You don't have to worry about what PSI.
Air pressure,
so it's calibrated. And it gives you a lot more like instant feedback on the pedals. It feels like you're riding outside. Like this, I think it's a 19-pound flywheel on the core. It's definitely like a handful. Like if you're a big, powerful guy, like you still won't overpower that.
I like how you look at me when you say that.
not the big part, just the power.
So definitely, like from experience again, I went from the fluid to the smart trainer, but I have the one that resistance is still with the full wheel. And I'm seriously considering one of these just because of the fact that the tire pressure, goes low and you don't realize it and you're wondering why you can't, and then you realize, it's just one more thing that can go wrong.
And even no matter how tight you get on there, how much you test it before you actually jump on, you don't think you're going to have that slip, and then you stand up to do an interval or get on it, and it always ends up with a little bit of slip or a little bit of lag in that.
And I'm thinking too with like mountain bike, like I like the idea. So I think Zwift now has a mountain bike feature. I haven't seen it and looked at it much yet, but like I have, if you want to throw your mountain bike on it, your fat bike on it, as long as it's an 11 speed, right? As long as it's the same cassette.
Yep. I'm not sure fat bike spacers.
Okay.
Yeah.
But mountain bike for sure. And that brings up another good point is noise. So that's a huge feature with having a direct drive versus if you've ever ridden a trainer, you hear that hum of your tire. Even with a trainer tire, there's that humming. And it can be fairly noisy in the house. So if you're trying to, get an early morning workout in or a late night and you have a kid in bed or something, it's got that kind of loud noise to it. A direct drive is super quiet. Like I can ride my kicker and my wife will be on the elliptical next to me, and we don't even really have to raise our voice while I'm riding. It's so quiet. Which is, that's one of the things that Wahoo really set out to do, is to have a really quiet system, because they realize that people in their basements don't want that really loud hum.
Yeah.
So
I feel. And you don't want your wife to pull in, if you're doing it in the garage, you don't want your wife. Do you ever hear this story?
No.
Mark's bitter about it still. Still, it's been a while.
So I use mine in the garage, which is a good spot, because even if it's a little cooler, and then all your sweat and everything, you get your mat. Well, my wife pulled into the garage and thought it'd be funny to honk, and I was in the middle of an interval. It almost sent me into a heart attack.
Send the heart rate right up to 250.
Oh, so don't do that while I was at home. But no, I was telling Tyler before we started, I'm like, I already have a nice trainer, but this is the nice next step, and it makes sense. So then what's the next one up, and what do you get from there?
Yeah, so from going from the core to the kicker, obviously there's a $300 increase. You get, I think it's a 3 pound heavier. Yeah, 1,200. You get a heavier flywheel, so more realistic feeling. It comes with a cassette, which usually a cassette, depending on what you put on, is going to run $60 to $100 for a cassette. It comes with a handle, so if you are going to go to a spin class where you bring your own trainer, it's got a built-in handle right here. It has different legs than this one here. This guy here, they're kind of set. The kicker is collapsible, so they go out like this, and then if you're going to travel with it, they collapse in.
Less wobble too, maybe, or not really?
They're both pretty solid.
Okay.
Trying to think if there's any other big differences.
But that is a nice feature. I mean, like you said, going to a spin class or bringing it to a race where you want to warm up, or
and I know some guys travel for work, or women travel for work, and they want to bring a trainer to the hotel. Actually, our Wahoo rep does that. He always has a kicker with him and his bike.
Okay.
He rides like 8,000 miles a year.
Jeez.
So every night he gets back to his hotel, he sets everything up in the hotel, and is able to work out while he's on the road too. So the kicker definitely has some advantages. Some people find it worth the extra $300. A lot of people like the price point and the features of the core. Both of them are going to get you a direct drive unit that's pretty quiet, that can get you on Zwift and having it feel very realistic.
Yeah.
So
and then there is one level higher, which is a new thing. We don't even have one in stock yet. We have one on order. It should be in around end of the year.
Okay.
So Wahoo came out with a bike. And I know right off the bat, it's $3,500. And a lot of people look at that and think that's crazy. As we talked about beforehand, there are ways that you can, depending on how you look at it, where you could justify that being a really good option.
Cycling, we can justify everything.
That's true.
So the way that we were talking that we can justify it is my wife rides, but not to the same level I do. I have a kicker. She has a, as I call it, dumb trainer. That doesn't really get you. It's an old trainer. So the thought of like buying a second kicker, well, that's $1,200. So now you're up to $2,400. Bike wise, she doesn't really have a great bike to put on the trainer, so that can be another issue. She has a mountain bike and a cruiser, and then you add in the bike comes with the kicker climb, which we haven't talked about. The kicker climb unit is a unit that you attach your front fork to, and as you're riding, it'll adjust. Like if you're doing Zwift, or you can manually adjust it if you're not doing Zwift.
Yep.
But you can
feel like a hill.
Yeah, up and down. I think it goes up to 18 or 20% incline, and then 10% on the decline. So that's all included in. So if you add up those pieces, you're at $3,800.
Sure.
Which is $300 more than the bike is, and then you still have to put your own bike on it. And the thing we were talking about is, my wife can have her setting, and then I can have my settings with seat height, fore aft, handlebars,
everything.
Yep. So basically,
it's almost like a spin bike.
Yeah. Yep. So once you kind of have that dialed in, you could both. The only downside is you can't use it at the same time.
Yeah.
But pretty easily switch back and forth.
Yeah.
And if like we both have TVs set up with fans set up.
Yeah.
So like you can have one area where you can just keep everything. So, and also we had hit on gym memberships.
Yeah.
Lots of people like to get memberships, and a membership at the Y is $100 a month. And I don't know if you're anything like me, but come winter and it's 15 degrees out and you wake up at 4:45 in the morning, the last thing I want to do is go get in a cold car, drive 15 minutes to the gym, change, work out, take a shower, change, get back in a cold car, drive home, and then get ready for work. Whereas, and not just for the bike, but for a trainer in general, like I found that going from trying to do the gym thing to just having a spin bike, and I realize there's a lot more at a gym, but for a lot of us, cycling is like our main workout and cardio. So being able to do that in your basement, you're much more apt to go down and use that than go through all the steps.
Cuts out all those excuses and just having it ready to go. And makes you more apt to actually get on it. And stay in that routine.
Yeah, at $100 a month, in 9 months you have a core paid for.
Sure.
If you want to look at it that way, as most of us guys do, we're always looking for a way to justify to our significant other why it is we're spending what we are.
I bought a Planet Fitness membership just for the shower, so that I can bike from here and then go down and use the shower. $9. It's like, hey.
Smart. Yeah. Yeah, free T-shirt too.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a win-win.
T-shirt, came back all excited. So just to touch again, because I know that a lot of my friends have husband and wives that both ride. If they bought the direct drive and they both are 11 speeds, they should be okay.
Yeah, you can switch a bike out I can switch a bike out in probably a minute.
Okay.
At first it is a little strange at first trying to put a bike on a direct drive unit. You got to pull the derailleur back.
Yeah, with the chain. And
but once you kind of get the feel for it, it's
just
pretty.
Like taking your tire off.
Yeah. Yep. So it's pretty simple. So yes, you can share them. So that is an option as well.
Okay. So let's talk about Zwift a little bit. Switch gears. These are awesome units. And then if you get a Zwift account, we tried this a little bit last year. We're going to try to do it again this winter and do like a Tuesday group ride where we get a few buddies together. That accountability of like, hey, we're riding at the meetup, whatever they call it.
Yeah.
6:15 or something. And then literally, it was interesting. Like I thought you and Joe had yours on cheater mode or something because you guys were gone. But you literally get to ride with your buddies, and it's supposed to be pretty true to wattage. You can see like when they're ramping up their watts, and you're like, oh, there he goes, he's sprinting. Or you can see when they're heart rates, you can see heart rates, how the other
and you can message on the app back and forth like, hey, ease up the pace.
Little banter going.
Yeah.
So I guess for those of you that might not know, Zwift is basically, for lack of a better word, like a virtual
it's video games
for cycling. So like Tyler was saying, you can take a smart trainer like we've been talking about, hook your bike up onto it, plug into the game. You basically have your own character or avatar, and you can, get your buddies together, all meet up and ride in this kind of virtual landscape that has hills, different scenery,
Wind, rain.
yeah, races, King of the Mountain segments,
training plans.
Yep, training plans,
can,
intervals. So a lot of really cool features.
Races.
Yeah, and if you do have a smart trainer, you start going up a hill, it's actually going to add in that resistance. You go
a lot.
Yeah, quite a bit. There's some big hills. Downhills, you'll actually gain a little bit of speed. So it is a really cool thing to have a trainer that keeps up with that too. You can do it on a normal trainer, but you don't get that real world feel, I guess.
Yeah, like the big thing, going back before Zwift and going back before the trainers got awesome. It's not like I've been doing it forever, but I mean, even just a few years ago, it's really evolved. You would have to go down in your basement and find a YouTube site you wanted to watch or TV you wanted to watch. I mean, now
you're watching Mark's Iceman video from
2004. Yes. Yes, over and over.
Over and over.
No, I actually would watch Brad White. He was flying in there. That was fun and okay. But now that you can log on and those are all real people. I'm not a video game guy at all, and it's cool. It's not cheapy video gaming.
It's much more motivating to go do than to just sit in the basement and spin.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot of people out there that are not Zwift fans. They're trainer road fans.
Yeah.
We see a lot of the engineers and number people out there that like more structure.
Yeah.
Really like the trainer road side. But for me, I'm not a structured person. I might do a 100-mile ride one week and then not ride for a week, and who knows? But that's kind of me in training too. If it all adds up at the end of the winter.
About that?
Yeah, a little bit.
So, but Zwift is for me, makes it much more interesting, and it makes getting on the trainer fun.
Yeah.
And I think the one thing that we've seen the last couple winters is people can get too into it and start doing races every night. Like, oh, I'm going to go race.
Yeah.
Well, it's your off season, and you really shouldn't be putting that kind of effort down all the time. I mean, I guess it depends on what you're training for.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I think you got to be careful too with like burnout, that you don't go too hard in the winter, and then once you actually get to use that fitness outdoors, you're kind of like over it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen that at the shop, customers that come in and they were doing 2 Zwift races a week.
Yep.
And they get to the Barry-Roubaix and they're like peak fitness, which is great, but then they're like over it by the time they're in
mid-season hits and they're burned out.
Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, I know a guy that I'm thinking of right now that I think even in this time of the year is using it, 3 or 4 days a week because of family and whatever.
Yeah.
And kudos to him. It is awesome, but I can't get on it that often.
Yeah.
It's like a fill-in for me.
For me, speaking, like I've got a 14-month-old at home, so that changes a lot. I can't just go ride my bike any night of the week and be gone for hours on end.
Yeah.
So for me, I can get my son to bed by 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
And at 8:05 be on the trainer, and whether it's 45 minutes or hour and a half or whatever it is, you can get a really hard workout in, and not, even if it's just me home, like you're not leaving home.
Yeah.
You can get a really good workout. I think you can get a better workout in on a trainer than being outside.
Yeah. I mean, it's really efficient too.
To the point. Yeah.
Well, I know the biggest thing for me is especially this time of year when the sun's going down faster, you're starting to use lights and things like that. Like, it starts raining, I look at it like, man, I could rush out to a trailhead and get a ride in, or worrying about if I have lights charged, that you can kind of just throw on your shorts, your shoes, jump on, get a really good workout in. There's no travel, there's no logistics, there's no added things to worry about, if you have the right clothes or lights and things like that. So it's nice. And then you get the added element of, hey, it's 8:30 at night, but you can, text a buddy and jump on there and get a ride in where otherwise you wouldn't have.
Yep.
So that is cool.
Point. What you wear, and I have to get ready for outside and stuff. Like I just wear my bibs, and if
Yeah.
Amy's got anybody over when I come in, she's like, they're like, what the? That's how I walk. So there's a side effect. You gotta be careful.
Yeah, and like we love outdoors, like fat biking.
Yeah.
Like I still love fat biking, but for me, with having a baby at home, and then also we've had really inconsistent winters.
Yeah.
But
Conditions,
yeah, and then on top of that, you think of like when you go out in the wintertime to ride, you're like, what do I wear or what layers today?
Mhm.
And then you get done riding and you've got 6 different layers and socks and things that you have to wash.
Yeah.
Laundry.
And if you're like Casey and I, and we don't like to do laundry,
Yep.
and Mark,
Mhm.
you don't like to do laundry, the trainer, like for me, is, a pair of shorts and a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's a lot less cumbersome to go and get your workout in.
Sure. So to kind of review, you've got entry level, what price?
From this lineup from Wahoo is $4.99 for a
Okay.
wheel on
Wheel on.
smart trainer that gets you into Zwift. You feel the hills, it gives you that.
Still really, really good trainer.
Yep.
But if the budget's there, this would be the next step.
Yep, this is our best seller, the Kicker Core at $900. It kind of has most features that the Kicker has. If you're going to be traveling and moving your trainer a lot, the regular Kicker at $1,200 would be better. And also, if you are just really into riding and training, the Kicker does have the heaviest flywheel. It's the quietest out of all of them. It's the most realistic feeling. So it kind of
fiber handle.
Oh, carbon everything. And it comes with a cassette, so you don't have to buy a cassette or swap a cassette. And you can, if you're running a SRAM Axis road, it uses a different free hub body. They do sell XDR free hub bodies for this unit and XD free hub bodies too. Like if you have your mountain bike and you have a, Eagle on it, you could put that on there.
Compatible.
Yeah.
So if anybody, I know, was it last year you guys had one?
Oh.
Didn't pay the light bill.
Technical difficulties.
Last year you guys had a demo out.
Yeah, we had the Kicker climb and the Kicker. We had that all up at our ADA shop with a bike on it. We're going to have, we'll have something set up. I'm not sure if it's going to be at our ADA shop or at every shop yet. We're just getting to that point.
How much does that climb run? I know we talked about it, but
so it's $600.
Okay. Yeah.
Which the climb actually sold pretty well. They have a fan too.
Yeah.
So the
cool.
fan is another thing. Like if you're looking for the ultimate setup, like sky's the limit. The fan will change how hard it blows on you depending on how fast you're riding, like on Zwift.
Yeah.
It's like when you're descending Alpe d'Huez, like it's going to be full bore.
Yeah.
And when you're climbing it, it's going to be, is kind of funny. It's the opposite of what you want.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's the most
true.
realistic feeling.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, it's kind of funny. Like I don't know about you guys, but I'm always freezing cold when I get on, so it's like I turn on all the fans, I still have my layers on, then I start going, then I'm burning up and I'm trying to rip off layers as I'm going. So,
or
it's kind of nice. You could
fan,
start
right?
slow and
yeah, so you can control the fan by speed, you can control it manually, or heart rate, which heart rate, the cool thing there is when you first start and you're at 70,
kind of warm up.
it's barely blowing at all.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then as you get higher towards your max heart rate, it's going to be blowing harder, which is probably, it's not as realistic as the speed thing, but probably a better option.
Yeah. Sure.
So yeah, there's a lot of cool options. Zwift, just a quick overview, is $15 a month.
I think so.
And you can cancel it anytime.
Put it on pause in the summer.
Yeah, so like
it keeps all your stats.
Yeah, I usually run it
stuff.
for October through March, and then pause it. But if
Real curious on that mountain bike. I don't care so much about the steering and all that.
Yeah, the off road.
Yeah, but I think just even being more of a mountain biker, enjoying more of the mountain bike, I think being able to feel like I'm going through the woods might be kind of.
Yeah, the steering will definitely add another aspect of concentration. You can't just sit there and like email on your phone.
Zone out.
Right.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting.
No, it's cool though. They're rolling out a lot of. Just the technology that trainer companies are coming out with, and then also like Swift and Trainer Road and stuff like that.
Yeah, and you don't
Exciting
have
stuff.
to do a paid membership with this. You can use the Wahoo app and do workouts in
Yep.
the Wahoo app too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Bluetooth and Ant Plus compatible. So if you have your heart rate monitor, you know, and you can use the Wahoo head unit too. And you can actually replicate like an outdoor ride. So like if you love doing Barry-Roubaix 36 mile, you can bring that into your workout and it will replicate the hills.
The elevation, all that.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
I guess I haven't messed with that. That sounds kind of cool.
Yeah, I haven't either just because I usually use Zwift, but that is an option.
Yeah.
Okay. So
that's cool.
Well, cool. Yeah, that's the basics of the Wahoo trainers. We're getting into that time of the year, so I thought we'd tell you guys about it. Any other questions? Get a hold of Tyler at the shop. He's there most days. And there's 3 locations.
Ada shop, which is in downtown Ada. Our Fulton shop, which is on Fulton, kind of by Fuller. And then the shop I'm at, which is East Paris, right next to Bill and Paul's.
Cool.
So.
And he's putting his house up for sale next week. So if there's anybody,
he'll throw in a trainer.
He'll throw in a
free trainer
for full price offer. Thanks, guys. We'll do some more stuff like this. Keep you informed on what's going on. Catch up to you later.